I wanted a place for people to receive authentic guidance and practical ways to awaken. Thought-provoking, paradigm-shifting, and empowering. This is about expanding our human consciousness to create a wave of new possibilities. I'm Dr. Theresa Bullard, and this is Quantum Minds TV. So I think that there was some real golden nuggets that you just shared there with, how we really need to shift into creating flow and making sure that we're staying in that flow of abundance, right? Because if we tense up, if we go into fear, if we go into worry, if we go into anxiety, then that is like putting the kink in the hose. The water might be flowing, but we've just kinked the hose and it won't flow any further and then it just becomes this backup. Yep. And so when we get into fear, that's when the ego kicks in and goes into fight, flight, freeze, and the old brain starts to hijack, as you were saying. So one of the major keys for anyone who's struggling with any kind of flow of abundance in their life is really be careful around where's your mindset going into that fear, that worry, that anxiety, and learning to meditate or calm oneself, as you said, step back from the situation and try to take more of that bird's eye view of it rather than getting myopic or into tunnel vision. And, to really just learn some self-mastery, self-control. And the more that we have a practice of whether it's meditation or, we've done the work to really clear up the subconscious and where those kind of places where our triggers tend to be, and clean it up so that we're healing and not allowing those past pain points to hijack our present reality. These are all super important aspects on that journey to self-mastery, which ultimately will lead us to greater success. And then, of course, you touched on the topic of quantum, realities and manifesting from that quantum zone and shifting into that quantum mindset. And this is one of my favorite topics, of course, where, in the quantum field, when, there's this principle of uncertainty, there's always going to be uncertainty, number one. So in a quantum mindset, we recognize that uncertainty is part of life. Whereas in the old mindset, they wanted to control. They wanted to, have certainty and be able to control all the parts. But in the quantum mindset, in a new paradigm way of thinking, no, it's like let go of control. And be okay, get comfortable with uncertainty, because in that uncertainty is where all those possibilities come into, the fore. And it's in the realm of uncertainty where the quantum field opens up and we can embrace an attitude of there's infinite possibilities and there's some that are more probable than others. But in embracing that, it's like we open up a field of so many options for ourselves in terms of what we want to create. And then as we open up, it's more of a relaxed kind of gestalt, quiet mind. The mind is quiet, we're centered, we're just opening up to that field. And then it's about finding that coherence or that resonance with what it is you want to create, right? Choosing. Okay, and then when we choose that, we bring our laser-like focus into that. That is what we're going to create, and we put that into our vision. And as you said, then not only are we planting the seed of what we want to collapse the waveform around, or pull out of the quantum field. Now we've taken that energy and it's moving. Now we need to take it through other realms, from the idea to the brainstorming process, to the planning process, to the action process, because we are the ones who are here to create our reality. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the energy output is so important. You're right. Without the energy output, you can't get the exchange. And so you have to put forth that planning. That energy goes into that. That's conscious energy. The planning part and the action part is all still energy. And that's what's going to help create the actual outcome that you desire.
And that brings up another law of physics, which is in physics, they would call it the conservation of energy.
Right.
But metaphysically, we might call it the concept of equal energy exchange. Within even within the quantum field, you might be able to get something from nothing, but you won't get something for nothing. There's
Right.
always some kind of energy exchange or maybe a sacrifice that needs to be made in order to receive something out of that quantum realms. If
Right.
nothing else, you have to be willing to let go of other possibilities once you decide I'm going to focus on this. So with this concept of equal energy exchange, I think this is another really important topic. When you said, okay, I'm going to bring something and offer something of value, and I'm going to ask for something in exchange, to raise funds or whatnot for that. And so there's this, flow and equal energy exchange versus you just asking for someone to give you as a handout, and yet you didn't do anything to give back or to earn in some way.
Yeah, it has to be a balance. Even with abundance, financial abundance, money is just a side effect of energy exchange. That's all it is. That's why I tell people, don't focus on the money, focus on the energy exchange and the gift that you're providing, the service you're providing, and who can utilize that gift or service, and the money will just show up. It's not that you're trying to make money. Money is a side effect.
Exactly. That's a big one, is when people make money the object and the focus, then it's just about greed. Whereas you make the focus be, you're serving, you're sharing your gifts, you're, expressing your passion.
Exactly.
And that's more flow of abundance, because now you're coming from that love again versus coming from greed or agenda. Often there's this new age thinking that's come in, or it's also, from religious programming, where you should not equate money and spirituality. They shouldn't go together, right? So if somebody is truly spiritual, then they shouldn't be rich. Or if somebody's rich, they must not be spiritual. Or if you're offering an education and you're giving knowledge, but it's of a spiritual nature, you should do it for free.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
That is why I wrote the book, Woke Doesn't Mean Broke.
I love it.
I had to. I was like, you know what? This idea, this concept of this poverty mindset linked to spirituality is just totally opposite of what the spirituality is teaching us, that we should be manifesting abundance 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We should be walking in total abundance. And it doesn't mean you're a billionaire. There's different levels of abundance depending on who you are and what your requirements are in your life. But certain people are required to help people in a larger way. Not that any way of helping is greater than the other, but where somebody might help a homeless person by giving them some sandwiches, I might be able to help 2,000 homeless people by providing meals for them for the next 3 months. It's just a different way of utilizing my blessings to help other people. And so some people are required to do more because they've been given more. And when you get to the point where when you realize you have more, you don't want to help and assist, that's where you're in risk of losing everything you have. And so just giving freely and of course, in the right way and in the right direction, to me, it solidifies, my place and who I am and how many much more people I'm going to be blessed to be able to help even in the future. And so I try to tell people that having an abundant mindset means that you are walking in abundance, and whatever it is, all your needs are going to consistently be met, whether it be living good, traveling the world, living in a nice house, you deserve it. If you think that you don't deserve nice things just because you're spiritual, then you don't really understand what it means. In my opinion, from my understanding and my research and the way that I've studied everything, it seems to me that when you become a spiritual being that's really using ascended knowledge and is trying to help as many people as you possibly can, whether it's through knowledge or finances, that you deserve abundance to go along with that. And your ultimate goal is to help create heaven on earth. A lot of people with this mindset of being broke and poor and struggling and begging for an external source to come and save them, they're waiting to die so they can live. And I'm thinking in my mind, the way that I'm understanding this whole reality is that the spiritual frequency that's inhabiting this avatar body is trying to show me how to live now. It wants to experience abundance now in the third density, and it's sending that information back to source. And so it wants to see, in my opinion, how many people are going to understand and learn this in their lifetime. that the key goal is to create heaven, or our concept of what heaven is, on earth, and not wait to die so you can hope to live, but to live now in this particular density and then live on again after this. And so I think that people need to understand there's a little bit of dogma in the mindset of being broke and poor and struggling. And that's a low frequency mindset. That's going to put you in so much stress, pressure, fear, doubt, and everything else. You won't even have enough positive frequency or energy to help uplift anybody. And if you forget about trying to help masses of people, we know that we're living in a world that has a financial matrix system right now. And we can't ignore it and act like it doesn't exist. Because if we did, we'd be living under a tree outside but naked. So we have to understand this, right? I got to have a roof. I have to have air conditioning on. I need a car to drive back and forth. Basic necessities, I call them, at least. And so if that's the case, I need to learn how to master this matrix and utilize it to benefit the light and not the darkness. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I needed people to understand that. And that's why I wrote the book, Woke Doesn't Mean Broke.
Mm-hmm. I'm 100% with you, because the same teachings that we have in the ancient, Western mystery school tradition is that we are here on this earth. We are already spiritual beings. Mm-hmm. And we are here to have a physical experience. And in that physical experience, it's all about learning the art of manifestation and creating true abundance in our lives. Mm-hmm. And if we truly are achieving spiritual awakening, enlightenment, mastery, then we should be embodying that and manifesting that into this physical reality to create that heaven on earth. It starts within us, creating our own slice of that within our own realm, within our own home, within our own life, but then also sending that out, because we as a collective of humanity are meant to be creating a much better way of life on earth as a society. And this is the big shift and the big transformation that we're going through right now is, people are really frustrated about, the sense of injustices that are out there. And there are, there's a lot of corruption and injustice and imbalance that's in our world right now. So they're understandably angry, but the problem is they're all pointing the fingers at the governments and the leaders and, you have to change this for us. And then, it's creating more polarization rather than realizing I have to be the change. So if I'm going to be the change, how can I create a more balanced situation within my life? How can I start to manifest my own piece of heaven on earth? How can I then also help to bring that heaven on earth into my community, into my family, into my into the world, right, into my workplace? Like, how can I help be a part of that? And so, I feel, and it's very much a part of the tradition that I've studied with, that if we're not manifesting our abundance, then there's something we're not understanding about what it is to be truly spiritually realized. Right. Because it is very much, yes, you can have your head up, in the ethers, but you also got to have your feet on the ground. That's right. And taking the actions in this world that are a reflection of as it is above, so it should be below. Right. But that's up to us to be the ones to take those actions. We have this mission almost of creating a better world. Now in the mystery school, we call it Shambhala, which is like a world of peace or a world of balance and harmony and sustainability. And, we do truly live in a world or a universe that is abundant, right? There's limitless energy, resources, and so forth. We just need to learn to tap into that greater capacity, that greater well. And, this might be a big jump, but I'm curious about your space agency and this sort of alternative energy, harnessing process that you're looking into, because that, when we look at 0 point energy, for example, that is saying that there is a source of infinite energy that we can tap into. We are not living in a limited or lack-oriented universe. It's fully abundant. So how do you see that playing a part in creating this heaven on earth type of an experience?
If everyone had clean, free energy, this world would be totally different. And so I invented a battery. It's an AGM battery about almost 3 years ago now. And this battery was a little bit different than the current standard AGM batteries, in which it can actually power a small house for about a week, whereas the other kind can only power the house for maybe 3 days in a brownout. And then it can also trickle charge by solar, or it could rapid charge. So I've been trying to focus on energy solutions because I know one of the biggest problems we have. I've traveled around the world now 4 times, and a lot of these places are really, really third world, maybe even fourth world in some cases. I've been places where there's been no power, and power just takes your civilization to the next level. So we have to focus on energy solutions. Another form of energy that we're focusing on is ambient electromagnetic waves, which right now, even in my house, there are literally trillions of them flowing through this house and all around me and all through me. And
Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and all these things, right?
Yeah, all the invisible light, right? and so I'm like, so we have a device that we're working on that captures the ambient light waves and converts those into power, so you can have a source of wireless power from ambient, already existing electromagnetic and light wave frequencies that are already here.
That's really ingenious.
Yeah, so we're working on that. We actually have a small one that we've been demoing, and then also a perpetual motion generator which we developed, which works on magnetic fields. The only thing that we're struggling with now, which we're working on with another engineer, is we had a delay because of the planetary sickness, which we had an engineer coming over from Europe, but they got hit hard at that time. So it delayed us a little bit, but we have to add more torque and torque gear ratio, because the power output, we can't seem to get an increased power output at this time, but we're working on it. Right now, we can power small things like charge a cell phone, a laptop, turn on a light bulb with no input other than different polarities of magnetic fields. So we're working on that. And the future goal obviously is tapping directly into the 0 point through the vector equilibrium. That's a whole technology we can't talk about right now, but we're trying to raise some funding to build that specialized laboratory, because we have to build a special steel torus and all this underground. That's a big, big project. We're also working on a deep space communications array. And so one of the biggest problems that's going to happen in the future as space travel progresses, if you want to take a vacation to the rings of Saturn, for example, you're way out there away from Earth. And how do you send a message back to home base on Earth in case there's a situation, a problem, an emergency? You're talking about a 3-month journey at the speed of light, the message to go back to Earth and back to the ship. You're way out there. So you'll need to have a communications array that's already been sent out and already in a particular orbit. And then the only delay you have is the time that it takes for your message to reach the array. The array will be quantum entangled with the communications device on Earth. So the information will be transmitted virtually instantaneously. And using a spin rate, spin down, spin rate up, spin rate down on the atoms to create zeros and ones, the Earth-based computer can transcode and decode the message instantaneously and send back an instantaneous message. The only delay you have then is from the array back to your ship, whatever ship you're in. So we're talking about delays in maybe minutes and hours versus months. So these are some of the bigger projects that we're working on right now.
Very cool. Wow. Well, I love how you're bringing the ancient wisdom and teachings from all the way back to ancient Sumerian times and modern science and technology. And so we're bridging these two worlds, plus this idea of an empowerment mindset, an abundance mindset, and it's very practical. It's very applied, and you're really putting your money where your mouth is with, investing in these projects to help make this world a better place. And I think that really sums up also why we need the spiritual people, the good people of this world to be abundant, because good people will do good things with their money. Right.
Yes.
And so this idea that, as you said, it's a dogma, this idea that money is the root of all evil, or spiritual people shouldn't be, spirituality shouldn't be associated with money.
Yeah.
Well, it has been ever since the dawn of time. And that is that mindset needs to shift within the people who really are trying to awaken, so that we can have the abundance, because yes, we are living in a world that does operate in a matrix, and we need to learn to be like Neo in the matrix, who knows how to control it, but bring the light and bring, things that are going to be good. I think that the world that we're moving towards, whether you want to take a scientific terminology of it, like a type 1 society that's harnessing the energy of all the sun that, is hitting the planet and all the, the resources, but in a renewable way on the planet versus relying on old kind of dead energy. We're talking about creating heaven on earth or Shambhala, whichever, whether you take a spiritual or a scientific approach to it, we are in a big, moment of shifting. And that new world needs to be created from a place of recognizing that technology and science is a part of it. And if we only move forward with science and technology, like you have it, in the singularity kind of movement, for example, where everyone's trying to transport the brain into the internet or the computer, or and you divorce the technology and the science from spirituality, and you just think we're all machines, and so it doesn't matter. If we only go forward with science and technology without the wisdom that comes from ancient teachings, then we could create dystopia, right? But if we bring in the wisdom and we bring in the, not just good intentions, because there's that good old saying of the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I mean, good intentions are a start, but we also really need to continue to step back and make sure that our ego is not taking those good intentions and turning them sideways and misdirecting. So it's really staying in integrity and having, some system that helps check us. We check our ego and measure it up against how much am I staying aligned with that higher light, that higher wisdom, that higher purity. And then allowing that wisdom to be first and foremost to guide the applications of the tools, the technologies, the resources, the knowledge, the science.
Right. So true. So true. Kind of reminds me of the ancient Egyptian baptism where they would weigh your heart against a feather. And so you can only get to the next level if your heart is lighter than a feather. And using that mindset, using that type of oversight and in the way that we move forward technologically would put us in such a phenomenal place as a species on this planet, and then even throughout the entire galaxy, then eventually throughout the entire universe.
Join us again as we continue to dive deeper into this fascinating conversation with Billy Carson on the next episode.
This conscious conversation was created, produced, and recorded by Dr. Theresa Bullard in collaboration with Billy Carson and edited by Verse Content. The theme music was created by Tim Mountain of Even Load Productions. Quantum Minds TV is a product of the Quantum Learning Academy.